All right. Welcome everybody to the Wisconsin State and University Combined Campaign Lunch and Learn with WAEE. Many people know this organization or the giving campaign as SECC for short. So that's what we're going to say today. So it's not as much of a mouthful. And today we are going to learn about the program and how your organization can make money by joining the WAEE umbrella. So we're going to go over what SECC is, who is eligible, how your organization can make money, and how much money they can make by joining the program, and go over the annual flow of the program as well as the application, because that seems to be the most daunting part. So we're going to kind of break down the application and discuss what would be needed for your organization to join the WAEE SECC umbrella. And at any point, we have two people on the live call with us. I may answer some of their questions if they pop up in the chat, or we'll also have a little Q&A at the end. And then there is also one of the SECC committee members might join us for the last couple of minutes to help answer questions if there's any I can't answer. Otherwise, anybody can email me at execdirector@waee.org, and I can help get those questions answered later if anybody wants to join and they're not here today. So the SECC is the only approved on the site giving campaign for state, university, and retired employees in the state of Wisconsin. It's a way for these employees to donate directly through their paycheck. It is tax deductible. And it's divided into three specific geographic regions. So there's actually three SECC campaigns going on at all times. So there's one in Milwaukee, one in Dane County, and one that's statewide. And that just helps make it a little easier for the people running the donor reports and stuff like that, because there's such high populations of those employees in those areas. It just helps to break it down and make it more manageable. And then there are also, so the way it works is there are 9 umbrellas altogether. There's 5 local or statewide umbrellas and 3 national or international umbrellas. And then, so umbrella organizations are, they're these nonprofits that have volunteered to kind of lead their umbrella, and there's a lot of work behind that. We work between the SECC committee and the charities under our umbrella to make sure all the applications are filled out correctly, make sure everyone is compliant in requirements, also submit marketing materials for all the organizations, and we receive the funds and then disperse them and manage donor reports and communications and stuff like that for all of the organizations. So any charity that wants to join the SECC has to be under an umbrella. That's the only way for the money to go out and be spread out. And usually charities join SECC umbrellas that are similar to them in values or mission. So there's some that focus on like racial justice and equity and stuff like that, or health concerns, really anything you can imagine for charities. There's a few umbrellas that cover a lot of different things. So ours focuses on anything really related to environmental, but that's not to say we wouldn't accept charities that aren't environmental in nature. That's just who tends to join our umbrella and who we tend to work with. So this is kind of a snapshot. This piece on the right side of the page is kind of what the SECC booklet looks like and on their website. So it lists us as the top umbrella organization, and then those are our current charities that are within our umbrella right now. There are 5 listed below, but there's actually 6 if you include us as well. Yeah, and as you can see, they're all environmentally related. So who is eligible to join? This kind of looks like a daunting list, but it's really just a breakdown of the application. So we're going to dive into each part of this a little bit more in depth towards the end of the presentation today. And most of these things are things that any charity or nonprofit has, most of these things like readily available and easily accessible. So I think the things that tend to be the largest barrier to joining are that your organization needs to get an audit, which is only required, like legally required for organizations that budget exceeds $200,000 a year. So a lot of smaller charities don't do this on their own, but we can guarantee that your charity will at least make the cost of an audit back So it kind of covers that, and that's a good thing to do anyways, just if you want to apply for any grants or anything in the future, having audits like prove a track of fiscal responsibility. So getting an audit can be a barrier for smaller charities. And then also making an annual report. Making an annual report is not legally required in the state of Wisconsin for nonprofits. But again, it is good. It's a good thing to do. It's good practice, and it shows transparency in your organization and allows the public to get a view of what you do on the inside of your organization. So those are two things that if your organization doesn't currently do, you could put the work into maybe do them in the next couple months. Our application process doesn't open again until December, so there is time to think about these and work on them. But if your organization does those two things, basically everything else on this list is stuff that your nonprofit has to do anyways. Yeah. And then for the annual report, we'll break that down a little further later on, but they have a list in here of exactly what they're looking for in that. If you do have an organization that doesn't currently make an annual report, they have very clear instructions on what they're looking for. And WAEE would also be willing to like share our template and, you can see what we do, but basically any information you have on your 990 EZ form, the IRS form, which is required, you kind of make it look prettier and more presentable to the public. Basically, you take that information, turn it into a prettier report with a little more personality, and that's basically what they're looking for your annual report. All right. So how could this impact your organization? The way that it works, the way that donations work are that state employees can choose to either donate to the WAEE umbrella as a whole, and then all of those donations get divided equally among the charities that are under our umbrella, or state employees can choose to donate 100% of their donations specifically to your organization. So there is some variation in how much our charities raise, and that's based on a number of factors. So some of it could be like geographic region or the target population that you serve, name recognition, or how much your organization can promote, or how much you can promote being part of this program, really, and spread the word about it. So there's a screenshot here of the Aldo Leopold Nature Center, and they have their involvement in the SECC listed right on their website. And they also have somebody on staff who's there to answer questions about donations and fundraising. And they have people that are like, it's their job to fundraise. So they are one of our highest earners, and they do a great job, but they make sure that they put in a lot of their donor reports and anything like that. They highlight their involvement in this campaign. So people know that it's an option to give to them that way. There's also the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin is one of our other largest, our charities get the largest donations. And they also have paid staff that do fundraising, and they do very consistent and very frequent like donor reports and newsletters, and basically in any communication you get from them, they have a section about ways to give to them. So they're really good at promoting this and getting money through that. Alternatively, as you can see in the middle here, it says that our charities have gotten between 900 to 7,000 last year. So the organization that got 900, they are the Trans Center for Youth in Milwaukee, and they operate 4 like smaller charter schools in Milwaukee that serve disadvantaged, disenfranchised communities, really, or target populations that might be at-risk youth. So they have a very specific like mission that they do, and they serve a very specific geographic area. And then they also don't like publicize this as a giving option at all. They don't have it listed on their website, and they don't really go out of their way to let the community know that they can give to them this way. So they tend to get smaller amounts. And that's generally just what they get from the money donated to the entire umbrella divided equally. They don't get as many of those like 100% donations to them the way that Aldo Leopold and the Natural Resources Foundation do. So there is a lot of variation in how much your organization can make, but on average, I would say they most get around, $2,000 to $3,000. And it is very low lift, and like there's no real downside. The only thing that your organization needs to do is do the application and like answer my emails sometimes. Like we have a marketing request that we do, but really low lift and high return, I would say, for most organizations. Oops. So the most confusing thing I would say about the SECC is that it runs on a 3-year cycle. We cover 3 years at a time, and the quarter one for SECC is actually in June. So we just and we do the payments quarterly. So every year it's March, June, September, and December. So this March, last month, I just sent out the final checks for the 2022 campaign. And then currently we are collecting money from the pledges from last year from the 2023 campaign, with the first check for 2023 will be sent in June, which is quarter one for SECC. And then currently, starting in June, or I think the booklet will be ready in May, they are making the new booklet and starting to collect pledges and stuff for 2024. Not really anything that your organization needs to keep track of. That's more what WAEE has to do. The takeaway, though, is if you're a new nonprofit or organization joining us, if you join in 2025, so you do the application, the upcoming application in December, January, you will not get your first payment until June 2026. So it seems like a long way off, but if you are consistently a member of the umbrella, you don't ever have to think about this again, and you'll just get your quarterly check ongoing. Just for that first time, there is a bit of a pause between when you apply and when you get your first check. All right, and then the annual charity schedule. Like I said, December to February is when we do the new application, and we're going to walk through that after this. In March, they do a marketing material call where they create this new booklet every year that lists all the charities, and it has like success stories and pictures, and they try to get people to donate to different umbrellas. So every March, your organization has the opportunity to update those materials, or you can just like approve what you sent in the year before. WAEE keeps all of your application materials, your documents, and your marketing material in a folder for your organization. So if you have staff turnover or anything like that, or you don't want to redo this every single year, we send you your folder, you review it, and just send it back to us and say sure, or you update whatever needs to be updated. So the marketing material thing really isn't a huge lift for most organizations. The Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin did have staff turnover like that this year. And the people, they had no idea how to do SECC. So we worked with them to do that. And they just gave us the rubber stamp on all the marketing stuff from last year. They said, just reused it. So we just worked on getting them the new updated documents for this year. But we're happy to work with your organizations if stuff like that ever happens. And then, like I said, optional. You can do promotions or campaigns to try to raise awareness about this or spread it around like Earth Day posts, or from October to November for the Madison campaign, they do something called Partners in Giving, where they do this huge drive, and they actually give us a ton of like social media materials and stuff like that. So around that time, I'll just send you guys an email with links to that, like pre-made templates or whatever. And if you want to share it, you can, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. So that's just one of those options to maybe get your organization a little bit more money if you're willing to do some of that extra stuff.
So
And again, yep.
quick question on timing. Given that the new application and documents was supposed to be in February, but we're meeting now in April. Is this all good for preparation for joining essentially in June to then be dispersed the following June if the application's accepted and processed and brought into the SEC fold? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But no is the answer. So they only do the application December to February every year. So we decided that to do this right now to give organizations time to, if they don't usually do an audit, they have time to do an audit and any of the annual reports and stuff like that. So we did last like November and October, we were kind of doing a call for people to join, and we got feedback that it wasn't enough time for organizations. They wanted more of a heads up. So December, January is when we do the applications, and we're going to have this recorded and on our website. So anytime later in the year, you can come back and watch this if you want to. But yeah, the soonest a new organization would get a payment right now would be June of 2026, I believe. They would be approved next spring, and then they would start getting pledges next year. It's a little unfortunate, but totally worth it.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Yep. All right. And then, yep. So this is, we're going to dive a little into the application here, and then we'll have room for questions or Yeah, we'll have a lot of time. We're getting through this pretty quick. All right, so there's the application is technically 3 pages long, and they break it down. Get my little pen out, get a little laser out. So they break it down into each one of these sections. So it's like the legal terminology of what they're looking for, and then they try to give you a simpler explanation. And we actually have like WAE has it broken down into like more specific terms or where you can find this stuff, so we can help you guys get that for the first time if you don't know where to find it. And then your organization would have to go through and you have to hand sign it and then mail me the paper, or you can use DocuSign, but you mark it off when you figure out that you have all of those things that you're looking for. And then I also go through it. There's 2 pages, there's 2 different pages, and it looks daunting, but like I said, most organizations have a lot of the stuff ready. And then on the 3rd page, I go through and I verify that you have all those things, and we like give you permission to join our umbrella, just to make sure that it's like a charity that aligns with our values and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna like kind of bulldoze through some of the things and we can talk about it. So for the application, the first thing is the IRS determination letter. All nonprofits should have this, or charities should have it. If for some reason you don't have it, you can go to the IRS search website. They have some of them on there, but I think only ones since 2014. And if you need one from before, if your organization was granted nonprofit status before that, you have to like call them or email them, and there might be a fee to get it. But most nonprofits have this stored somewhere because you need it for a lot of things. Amy, for you for the UW system, I'm sure they have it somewhere easily accessible. And
I believe so as well.
they should.
Right.
The second thing is from the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions letter of exemption. This is what it looks like. It does expire every single year. So every year we need to get an updated one. And I do have an instructions here on how to do it. I will also put this on the website where we have the recording for this. It's pretty easy. It's right on their website. You don't have to pay anything, and you just kind of the most annoying thing is you have to go to like 3 different hyperlinks to find your organization's PIN number and credential number, and then you can get your certificate. But it takes like 2 minutes to do. So it was a challenge for me to find it though, and I couldn't figure it out because finding the spot on the website was a little tricky. So we're going to have these instructions on our website. And then statement for SEC funds. They're looking for something exactly like this. It just says the funds contributed to the organization shall be used for announced purposes. And they want either a signed copy of a policy or board minutes where it was approved, or you can do a signed attestation of policy, which is what we do, because I don't have a copy of our stuff was originally approved at like a 2007 board meeting for WAE, and we don't have it shared or saved in our drive anywhere. What we do is we do the signed option, and then I also have it listed further below, usually that when it was approved. But they're just looking for a quick statement, and all of our statements kind of look the same, so we can easily share this with new organizations. They can basically copy and paste it if they want. But it does have to be approved by your board or signed by like an executive or something. And then I lumped a few of these together because they're all pretty similar, or not similar, but not things I can have good examples of right now. So for the audit, like right here it says, and they want a copy of the audit and the audited financial statements. Most audits have those 2 things combined in your audit paperwork. So for WAU, that's just one document that we submit, but I just wanted to highlight that because it might be confusing if people are like, what do I need for financial statements? There's a section within the audit reports that's like, say, financial statements that you can find. Current budget and bylaws. So there's 2 here, budget and bylaws. And we had a situation last year where one of the organizations did not have their budget approved as of this time. So they just did the same thing where they did a signed attestation of policy, or that it was their budget at the time and when they were going to be approving it. So the proposed budget and when they would be approving it. And they accepted that this year. So they're a little flexible. And the bylaws, like I said. And then fundraising policy, most nonprofits have this as well. It basically just says how you get your charitable donations, how they're usually used, that you won't sell people's information or whatever to other organizations and stuff like that. And the raffle is one of them. You don't do like raffling. Again, this one says or here, so either the signed paperwork or the copy of the board minutes when it was approved. Again, if your organization doesn't currently have something like that, the fundraising practices, I would be happy to share WAEs, and you can look through it and kind of like figure out how that would fit with your organization and write one up. I think ours is like 2.5 pages long. It's not a huge thing, but an important thing for nonprofits to have. Non-discrimination statement, basically the same exact thing, like a quick statement on not discriminating. And then, like I said, down here, it says when it was approved. I just don't have the board minutes in my drive. I'm sure they're somewhere in a filing cabinet that I have not found. So this is what we do, which is always accepted or has been accepted as up until this point. Quick statement, and that's we're like most of the way through the application already. So it's really, it looks a lot more intimidating than it is. The annual report, it must be, I believe within the 2 years. So this was pulled from this year's application that just closed, so 2022 or later, so 2022 or 2023. They want all of the information listed here, and like I said, a lot of it's on the IRS form 990EZ, where you list what your charity does, how you get donations and stuff, and name of personnel and stuff like that. Again, we would be willing to share ours and kind of, or share a couple. There's lots of examples online if your organization doesn't currently do it. But it's one of those things that you want to start ahead of time. You don't want to, if you're interested in applying and the deadline is February 1st, you don't want to be like, oh, I need to write an annual report on January 20th, because it's just going to be too much to pull together at that time. And then the last thing that they want is a list of salaries for anybody who makes over 20,000 per year. And that's just their title and the salary. It doesn't have to include names. And this is not shared with anybody. It will not be publicly available. It's just something that the SECC needs to make sure. I'm not sure why they need it, but they want it. So, all right. And then I included a little, here's some websites where you can learn more. You can Google it. This is the main website, secc.statewide.wisconsin.gov. And they do have a list of frequently asked questions and stuff like that, the list of all the charities. And then they do have links to both of these on there as well, which is the Dane County campaign and the Milwaukee campaign. But like I said, if you join our umbrella, you're automatically in all three campaigns. And questions. I thought that was going to take a lot longer to get to this point, but I don't know. Should we turn the recording